So last week we did truth tables with the and the or, the TP and the B. This week we're going to add in our arrow and our double arrow. So there's 2 new rules we have to learn. So there's only 4 rules total that you have to memorize. So our conditional statement is our if-then. Okay, we're not going to be writing sentences this time. We're just going to be doing truth tables that would work for any statements that we might plug in there. But the conditional statement is false. The whole thing is false only when the antecedent P is true and the consequence Q is false. So it's only false when it starts with a true and it ends with a false.
Can I just abbreviate that?
Sure. So that's our new rule. We have our and, 2 trues is true, or 2 falses is false. Now we're going to have our T arrow F is false.
FT.
Now the arrow, the way you point the arrow matters. So Q arrow P is different than P arrow Q. So just pay attention to the way that the arrow is looking. Do you have these T's and F's already in your?
Yeah.
Good. All right, so we're just saying if you start with the true and you end with the true, that will be true. You start with the true, but you end with a false. This is the only one actually that will be false. The rest are going to be true. Now, a lot of students get confused on the last one. False arrow, true is 2. False to false, everyone's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But it is true, and I have an example using statements and words if you want to hear it on the next slide. But basically, you never lied because it didn't match up with the original conditional statement anyways.
If you pass the course, then you pass the course.
If you pass the final, then you pass the
So that's true.
So here's the example. I'll give it to you here. So the original statement would be, if you pass the final, then you pass the course. So if I tell you that, if you pass my final, then you're going to pass the course. Okay. Now let's go and make it false. You don't pass the final,
Then you don't pass the course. Which is true.
and then you don't pass the course. That's not necessarily true. Because I said, if you pass the final, then you will pass the course, but I didn't say what would happen if you don't pass the final. So that's why the false arrow false is true. But really, you just want to memorize this rule for your arrows. T arrow F is F, everything else is true.
I don't do
All right, we're going to skip over those sentences. Now this one, it goes backwards. We're going to have Q arrow P. You have to look the arrow going backwards this time.
Oh man.
So again, the rule is that true arrow false is false. If it ends with a false, starts with a true, it will be false. So you have to look backwards. True arrow true, true. False arrow true, ending with a true, is true. True arrow false, ending with that false statement, is false. And false arrow false is still true. Because you didn't say what would happen if it didn't occur. So that's our new rule. We are going to learn one more tomorrow, which is the double arrow. Now, we have a squiggle outside of a set of parentheses here. Remember, you want to work inside out. So you're going to start with a Q arrow P column. And then you'll have a negation. Q arrow P. So this one's going to be the same as last one. Make sure your arrow is going backwards. So we should have true, true, false, true. What does the negation do again? All it does is takes the opposite. So for those of you not here, once you get this column, all you do is take the opposite value of each one, and you're done. So this would be false, false, the opposite of true, false. So squiggle is really easy. Just the complete opposite of whatever you got in the previous column. So this is really your final answer, but the other rows are helping you to get there, showing your work. Okay. I think we can do one more, and then we can see if the others for tomorrow. All right, so this one, and it's up to you. Some of you, when you see squiggle P, you like to do squiggle P right away. Other people like to do it sequentially as the problem goes. I would probably start with my parentheses. So I'll do my P arrow Q. You can see we're going to combine our rules. What will I have in this column in terms of my trues and falses? True, false, true, true. Good. Again, the rule for this one is true arrow, false is false. What should I put in my next column? Negation P. Now, negation P, just go back to the P column and take the opposite. So that would be false, false, true, true. Now, at the end of the problem, we are comparing this column and this column with an and symbol. What's the rule for and?
Two truths is true.
Two truths is true. Everything else is false. So we're going to compare these, and we should have false, false, true, true. Okay, your homework is just 3 problems on the next page. And Evan noticed that there's a typo. It should be what, page 149?
Oh, that was an issue.
Okay, so, or should it be 147?
No,
So
it's
that's
definitely
147.
147.
Should be 149.
147 is like definition.
Okay. So go change that on your homework to page 149. Numbers 1, 4, and 7, that's it. Tomorrow we'll finish up these notes. And we'll do some of the longer tables with the R.